Today we're going to be learning about contemporary artist Jen Aranyi. She loves to do lots of different landscapes because she does travel and camp a lot and lives near the mountains and really enjoys doing smaller pieces and larger pieces, but using a black and white technique a little bit for her landscape and mountains, and then a watercolor wash and marker in the background. So as we're learning about her today, I wanted to show you another slide on here. Oops. And here are the different ones. So here you can see that on her own website too, she has additional ways of how she teaches what she does in her own videos. So here is one about how she does a watercolor galaxy sky. And here's another one where she uses her markers and one of the water brushes and begins that way. I have a quick little tutorial as well, and we can get started. Today we're going to be learning about an artist, a contemporary artist who is named Jen Aranyi. I know we've probably seen some of her work before, but she's a watercolor nature artist, and she's also a graphic designer. So when you take a look at her work, you'll notice that she's really influenced by the nature and the world that's all around her. She really likes to add in bright colors, and she uses those colors in a big contrast by using the black and white of her line art. So when you look at her mountains or the landscape that she's creating, that's all in black and white using her pen. And then she has the watercolor with the landscape design behind it, which is typically her constellations, her stars, and the really colorful night skies. So you can find her work on a lot of social media platforms like Instagram, and she also has her work for sale on Etsy and a few other websites as well. So what she describes herself is that, in order to get her inspiration, she loves to be outdoors. She likes to go hiking in the woods and basically just enjoy the landscape and nature all around her. So both her and her husband live in Columbia, Maryland, and this is just some examples of her artwork, which is going to inspire us for our piece today. So now that you've seen a few pieces of her work and the fact that you can see that she works on a variety of media, including wood, as well as creating stickers and watercolor paper, etc. All right, so today we're going to start our Jen Aranyi inspired landscapes. And I wanted to show you that in your book, your sketchbook, or on your paper, you can have it be a small one because she usually does a lot of smaller pieces. And you can also do a larger one. So your paper could be in the portrait mode this way, or you could even do it in the landscape mode and do two different shapes on here and create your very own inspired landscapes by her or ones that you saw from a picture. So typically you'll notice that Jen Aranyi in some of her interviews has done is she's explained that she really likes to use her micron pens. What's a micron pen just means that it's a really tiny tip and it allows for some of those smaller details. She likes to use, paint or a white gel pen, and then also, Sharpies always are great as well. So today, what I'm going to have us start off with is using a pencil. I want you to come up with your shape that you feel like using. I have a lot of handouts that talk about different shapes. So it could be a circle, it could be a square, a rectangle, even a triangle. You could try a different few of them and then also do your own, landscape if you want mountains or just trees, a tent. It's really up to you. So for me, on here, I'm going to try two different types. I'm going to start with a triangle, and then I think over here I'm going to try a circle and just come up with that idea first. Now, I wanted to show you can always freehand sketch things. If you don't have a ruler, you can always grab another paper, or say you have a box or a folder, you could use that for a straight edge. When you use it, you just lean your pencil against it and slide to be able to create that nice straight line. If there's a particular circle, you can always get a bowl and put it upside down and trace the bowl that you're looking for. Here I even have some big yarn, so technically I could look and go, I wanted to use this as my example to draw a nice circle. I usually use paper plates in the classroom, but in case you don't have any at home and you want to just use anything, water bottle will do, or even something like that. Once you have your shape, the next thing you're going to do is think about where is your horizon line. So remember, the horizon line is where the sky and the ground meet. So for me here, I think this is where I want my horizon line to be. A little bit like this. And for my other one, I'm going to have it a little bit more lower here. Okay. For this particular one, I think I'm going to stick with just having a treescape and my tent. And this one, I might just do some mountains. So let's get started. Look at your example. Okay. So I think I might switch mine out here. This is why we do it in pencil. I'm going to add in some mountains, maybe. I think I changed my mind. And then you just draw your squiggly line like such. And then all she does is add these lines going on the side like this to give it that nice effect. Might hide another mountain here, like such. Okay. Down here, I'm going to add in some lines like this. And these lines are going to actually be my trees. So you can draw your trees where you add the lines going up. Or you could draw trees where your lines go down. And you can switch it up. It's completely up to you. So either arrows that are upside down, pointing down, or arrows pointing up. You can make them nice and bushy, or you can make them thin. Seen other people do it this way, where they go back and forth like this. You can make a tree that way too. Sometimes Jen Aranyi will do something like that as well. If you don't like it, just go back over it. Once you get your design of one, try jumping over to the design of your second one. For your second one, just take a look at what other projects or things that you might find that Jen Aranyi does, or come up with your own. What would you like to see outside or capture in a really cool sky? It could be anything that you're interested in and not be related to a landscape. It could be outer space. It could be, a black hole or a time warp or anything that you find in a video game. It's really up to you and what you want to play around with. Here, I'm just going to start drawing a tent, and then I'm going to start moving into mountains or just, treescape. It's really up to how I feel as I go, and I want you to feel the same way. So whatever you're interested in, just jump right into that and see where it takes you. All right, so now that I have this done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all of this using my Sharpie. right, so once you have the Sharpie and your pencil and everything done, the next thing you're going to do is you can use either your water brush, you could use a different brush, and then you need some water. So if you're using a cup and you have some water, you can even use your spray bottle that I have in our bag, where you can you can spray and wet the paper before you add the marker. So what I'm going to do is, for here, I want to play with 3 different colors. So I'm going to use my Crayola markers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the markers on my bag. We're going to do a little bit of a kind of marker technique that reminds me of washable markers. I mean, washable paint. Sorry, Mrs. Holland. All right, so what you could do is you could either wake it up by spraying with your water bottle to wake this up. You could wake it up by using your water brush and squeezing some water drops. Or if you have a regular brush, you could just dip it in some water. And what I do is I just wake up my paint, my marker. And then I'm going to go into some areas and I'm going to play with this paint kind of area here, like such. What I might do is also wet my paper. And now when I go in and grab some new colors, it makes this cool watercolor effect. And also that watercolor mix here will not go past where I have the water. So it'll stay nice exactly where I want it to be on my paper, because I already re-wet some of that. Can rinse my brush each time, and I can use some other colors and just play with this little bit of a mix and have that nice fun effect, as you can see. So you just want to do your sky that way. I'm going to let it dry, and once it's dry, then you get to add your stars. So when I want to switch colors, I'm going to use a napkin or a tissue, and I'm going to wipe this nice and clean. So this is the nice part, is I love to reuse my plastic bags. We do that in class, and then you kind of get this cool tie-dye effect as well. I'm just going to leave it on the side so I can use it again. If you add too much water, or it's making things you don't like, you can always dab it off like that, and then it creates another really cool look too. So for my next one here, I want to use these 2 colors. And we're going to do a wet on wet technique, meaning I'm going to get this wet first, and then I'm going to put wet on top of it. I might add in a little bit of some green here because I like that mix too. So I'm going to get this nice and wet first. Not a lot of water, just enough. That's why we use the Sharpie, because then it doesn't move. I'll start with my greens down here. The more water you add, the lighter the color it's going to be. The less water that you mix on your brush and the paper, the darker it's going to be. The nice part is if you don't like having some of this come out, you can always use your brush and try to wipe it off. And then you can take this and you can dab it gently or wipe it, and it kind of erases your marker for you. So even here, this got a little bit off the side. I can wet it. It might have sat here a little too long. That's okay too. And I can try to get it. If it doesn't come off, it's just part of my beautiful oops. Yep, which is fine. So once these are dried, I'm going to clean this off. You can make as many as you want, and then we'll add in our stars. All All right, so once this is dried, you're going to take your pen. What you might need to do is just test it out and wake it up a little bit on your paper so you can kind of see, or I drew on my finger here. And now you get to add in your stars. You might have to go over it a few times. It's really a lot easier to see on the darker areas, but just think about where you want stars to be. They could be little dots. You can draw an actual looking snowflake star. It's really up to you. So I know it's harder to see on this particular paper under the light, but you can always go back over it to really exaggerate it to make it stand out even more. It's up to you. I know it shows up a lot easier and better on the darker blues, as you can see here. And just think about how or where you want to add those. You don't have to add them, but you could add some. And there you go. You get your Jen Aranyi inspired landscape. Make sure you take a picture and upload it so I can see. Great job.